Whatever podcast. Let's talk some shit.
Word.
Um, man, this will be a quick one, right? You got a hard out, so 2:15. We have about 55 minutes. So if you're listening,
We'll get
stay.
it done.
All right, 2
We'll
hours
get
it
it
is.
done. This is gonna be
Well,
a Rogan episode, like 3 hours plus.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna watch animals fighting each other or something.
Yo, have you ever seen how a lawn chair is made? Jamie, pull that up. It's like, what? Like, I'm like about an hour and a half into the Robert Rodriguez episode, and Rodriguez is a fascinating person. I had no idea that he was so cool,
Sure.
and Rogan has yet to derail him with anything.
That's solid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I'm with that show. I don't have any kind of like insane Rogan fucking feelings. Like apparently a lot of the universe or whatever. If he's got someone interesting on, I tune on. I
same.
don't think he's a great interviewer. I don't think he
No,
knows a lot. He definitely doesn't know anything about music, which always makes me suspect about people. Him and Stern. I was just like, they talk about stuff like that. But if he has someone interesting, but I do prefer like going on YouTube and getting like those 10-minute drops of like a particular topic that's of interest without the meandering. But
well, that's the whole thing, right? So when you have long podcasts like that, that's the beauty of the clips, where it's like I would tune into the Stern Show my whole life for the hang. When they had a guest on, it was like a bummer. Like I wanted them to like bring up the time that Jackie, did something or Artie fell asleep. Like that's what I fucking loved. And
sure,
occasionally you would have a guest on and it's like, okay, whatever. I wanted like the news with Gilbert and Robin.
yeah,
So that was the hang that I tuned in for. Now, when I listen to podcasts, there's too many. So for me, it's like I don't give a fuck who it is. I read who's on, what they're going to talk about, and then I'll hit play. For
hmm
Rogan, yeah, it's just there's a lot of minutia to sort through and things that I don't care about. Like he'll be like, yeah, man, like you ever see how like a Cliff Bar is made? It's like, Jamie, pull that up. It's like, what? I'm like, you have Vinny Paz on. You don't want to talk to him about any Jedi Mind Tricks album whatsoever.
no,
So
but
yeah, but yeah, I don't have any adoration or hatred for Rogan. I think it's just a lot of these like people that like, they hate anything. It's like, when our buddy Neil just recently on Kill Tony episode,
I was,
uh,
yeah,
yeah, I
I was gonna
figured
bring that up.
it's just weird. Like people are like, oh, yeah, like Tony's like so unfunny. It's like, all right, so what? You sat and watched the whole show and came to that conclusion? It's like, no, there's something about him. There's like maybe like the Trump connection or like whatever it is. There's always something
Yeah.
that like somebody will be like, oh, well, I don't find him funny, and it's like, who gives a shit? Shut the fuck up.
Well, with comedy, I mean, listen, it's also the comedy is so
Absolutely.
like it might be your lane or it might not be your lane. Like of the Rogan sphere comics, like I'm not a huge fan of Tony. I know he's a great roaster and stuff. That shows like sometimes like I don't think the Netflix one was very good. Like Shane, I think carried it, meandered a lot. And then see an open micer and then they just rank on him or whatever. Not exactly my cup of tea. I'm not a big uh Schultz fan, Brett Kreischer, a lot of the guys that roll with Rogan. I think if I was the three guys that roll with Rogan's crew that I like the best are Norman,
Mhm.
Gillis, and Segura. I think are the cream of the crop.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, those are the cream, definitely, for sure.
but I thought the Netflix Kill Tony wasn't a total success. You know what I mean? But then when so I'm not an avid watcher and stuff. But then when I saw you posted Neil, a friend of the show and a friend of ours that got bucket pull and got the pull on, found that on YouTube, and man, he was great. He did great.
He did great, man. So shout out to Neil Rubenstein.
Working hard too out there. That guy.
Definitely wherever he is right now, he's probably pulling up to your town as we speak.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you live, he's on his way there. He might be there tomorrow or next week.
Do
But
you know how it went? They invited him to do another feature, right, or something, or
so I was driving home from like, recording. I forgot where I was, and he texted me. He's like, "Yo," he's like, "Playing Dead shirt on Kill Tony next week." And I was like, I didn't really, I don't watch Kill Tony, so I don't really, I like Tony Hinchcliffe on the roast, but
Right.
I don't know anything about the show. And
It's a long show.
I did. I watched the Netflix one. I saw like half of it, and I was like, oh, this is funny. But Shane Gillis was just so fucking good, and the guy who played Elon, I don't who played Elon.
That's oh Jesus. Denigan is it Kyle Dunnigan? Is that him? Maybe?
Maybe, man, because he did so like he's
It
introducing
is,
his
I think.
son. He's like, oh, this is X, blah blah blah. He's like, I named him after a Wi-Fi password. You know, like it was
Yeah.
just little things like that, and like Shane
I
is
thought they were
very funny.
great, and I
Yeah,
thought Rogan and Segura looked lost up there though. There was just like I think Netflix connection and have
yeah.
big names that live in Austin, bring them in, but
Well, I think they did it at the mothership, so that's Rogan owns
yeah,
it.
they
Yeah.
didn't add a lot or whatever. And Rogan looked a little like weird next to the guy doing Elon. That whole dynamic I found very
Why he looked
funny.
like he definitely smoked mad weed or took some edibles because he looked like he was on another planet for sure.
Totally.
But that's the beauty of like, growing up watching Stern, like that was the hang, right? Remember that? So I just sent you that link with Crystal
Yes,
Clear.
legendary.
So the other day I'm like at work and I thought to myself, I used to have Howard TV, which is the best. And in my head, I was like, oh, remember that episode with Crystal Clear, which was like a young porn star, and she went on and everyone kind of like roasted her a little bit, but she was kind of so dumb that she didn't really understand.
So dumb.
She didn't understand. So with her stupidity or her like naivety, naivete, and Stern playing good cop, bad cop, you forgot just how ruthless everyone is. Like everyone was just so ruthless on there, including like Sal. And it just reminded me of the beauty of the show where you're just like, this is so like unapologetic and fun, and everyone's having a good time. And that show in particular was just I was dying like every little thing because now you'll listen to the show and it's just Howard and Robin talking, and for the most part they were like the least funny out of everyone, right?
100%.
Like everyone
Um,
else was just like completely throwing darts all over the place, and they just happened to like occasionally maybe say something funny, but Robin was
Someone's
like
got to
no.
ground the ship
Yeah,
and they're funny enough, you know what I mean? But yeah, the
sure.
cast of characters around them brought up the thing, like it's never Artie's kind of like when that was gone, that was pretty much my last like really uh my last era I die hardly like loved, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah. But
it's one of those things that if you didn't grow up in that time and it was in, it's hard to explain. It was, it's not even, you can't look at it now. It's not even, it's a completely different show.
it's a
It's,
completely different show, and it brings me back to like, Kill Tony and all these other places where it's like these are, even what is that, the Big J show? I forget,
oh,
Bonfire.
the Legion of
Bon
Skanks. Oh, okay.
Legion of Skanks, yeah, for sure. So the format really took its own shape on podcasts, and now Stern is like older and probably doesn't want to like say certain things. And I don't know, maybe you're a 70 something year old guy and like maybe you're kind of like a little bit different, and these guys are like doing the show that he was doing. Now he's Don, now he's I don't even want to say he's Don Imus because he's not even Don Imus. He's at this point he's like you
Would you
know
say he's the last of a dying breed? Like he said eight,
no,
9 times. Remember his last
yeah,
episode?
yeah, yeah,
Saying that
yeah,
over
yeah.
and over again.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah, radio and that whole thing
yeah.
that he grew up in. Remember how stupid he thought podcasts were and how they'd amount to nothing. And, he was way off.
Well, and I get it, right? So you spend your whole life being like, okay, this is me. I came up through the ranks and this is what I
Yes.
did and I built it. And now it's like, you look over and I don't know, who was it? Gonzo
Sorg-
Shitcock. Gonzo Shitcock or somebody had a podcast and you're looking at them going like, wait, how are
Shit.
we now in the same field right now, So I get it. But like
Yeah.
most things, like when satellite came in, it took over for radio, and now satellite is the dinosaur. And people are like, okay, well now I want to listen to these five fucking random people have this
Mm.
conversation. And yeah, it's just that format lives on, and I love it because anything that's unapologetic, and sometimes that means mean-spirited stuff because that's what it is. No one's, it's not like you have a microphone in like San Quentin listening to like actual murderers. It's just basically everything's about the joke. Everything is just
Sure.
funny. Everything is about busting balls, and
The
that's what
shit,
it
take it.
is.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the beauty. Shout out to Neil for doing so good, right? So when he did Kill Tony, the first 2 minutes made me nervous because I didn't ask him. It was all via text.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I don't want to bother him. I'll just watch it when it comes on. And people started sending me like, his clip, obviously, because he's wearing our band shirt. But that's the beauty and love of someone like, Neil, where he's doing his thing and he's trying to get his shit off, but in his brain, he's probably thinking like, "Oh, I'm gonna wear this fucking shirt." You know what I mean? Like it's just
It's
like because
so great.
yeah, it's so cool just for that little piece in this like really great shining moment. And 2 minutes into it, I felt weird because sometimes I guess everyone's preoccupied and like Tony's like reading shit and writing shit and crossing shit out. And then he goes like, "Oh, you're so adorable." And when he said that, I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so maybe he is kind of doing okay." And then that's
And
really
when he kind of asked him like, how long you've been doing this, and I think he said something like,
he
"Oh, it
said
show,
10
or I can,"
years.
and I think Tony said something like, "It shows," or "I can
Yeah.
tell," or something like that. Like, could tell he wasn't like you've seen some people come up on Kill Tony that are like, "What you're doing? Why are you doing comedy?" Like they're
Yeah.
just there for like this guy. Neil came in, you could tell he knows he's been on a stage before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So everything worked out for him. And that episode is up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's, probably over 1 million views at the moment. So
He did good that he could. I think we'll see him back on that show. That show brings back regulars a lot of times.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully, the start of a good year for him for sure.
Absolutely.
Um, where were we going that we derailed into Kill Tony?
We started with Rogan. I did want to mention Neil anyway, so we shifted to that and stuff. But we got a few things. We're gonna do some Black Mirror talk later on with the new season that came out. But there's a couple of things because we haven't recorded in a while. Like you just recently went to the Chiller Theater, which I haven't been to in forever. How was that?
Wow.
For
Okay.
those who
So
don't know, it's a convention for horror genre films, merchandise, autograph signings, etc.
yeah, my girlfriend Karen was like, "Hey, hold on, she's texting me now. Blah blah blah." Okay, she's like, "Why don't we ever go to these things?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's a good question." And I was trying to think about it, and to me, what it is I'm not a sentimental person, so I don't collect things. And we've never owned a house, so when we move, it's like we don't have this. We don't have like what Parker has in his basement, or like eh, this like, okay, this is my home for the probably till I drop dead type shit. And I just don't have that sentimentality for like autographs. Like after a while, like 5 years, you clean shit out and you're like, I don't care. Like you just throw shit out. So that's
Mhm.
probably why there's no real appeal to it. But when she mentioned it, I was like, you know what? It's on a like it, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I talked to Dan Tur, shout out to our brother over there, Inked Up Merch, who's in Connecticut right now doing a con. Um, and he's like, listen, he's like, if you're gonna come Friday or Sunday. And we were like, all right, let's go Sunday. So we went out there to the Parsippany Hotel, and I felt great. It was like Tur was the plug,
Yeah.
shows up with his fantastic, Point Break, Reservoir Dogs t-shirt mashup. And he kind of just like showed us around. And as soon as I get there, I see Chuck Zito walk by, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm like, yo, Chuck. big fan. And he turns, we shake hands like, oh yeah, no, thanks, blah blah blah. I'm like, cool. I'm like, so this is what it is. All these like randos just kind of like walking around.
You're gonna try
So
to take him
yeah, so we just kept, walking through. We saw our buddy Nick Greystone who was there. So
nice.
he ended up linking up with Stuttering John and Steve Grillo that were there. So he drove them home. So
Gorilla
before
was that so?
Grillo was there, right? So in my head, I'm thinking this. I'm like, all right, I got to take a picture with this guy. I don't care about like what's he going to sign for me that I'm going to put anywhere. So guess how much the selfies were, or what I know, a picture.
With him,
Yeah,
$20.
40.
Get out.
Yeah. So I was
He's
like,
got balls. Was there anyone else there?
so all right, so I go there, right? And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, yo, it's Stuttering John, man. I'm like lifelong fan. I'm like, let's take a picture. Nick's there. Grillo's on the side, but
40 $40 first.
yeah. All right.
Put it in the
$40.
jaw up front.
Do you want me to say Nicolas Cage? So we take a picture and we start talking, and he tells me like a Goodfellas story when he met Joe Pesci, and the stuttering thing. You stuttering prick, yeah, whatever the fuck. All right, cool,
So he
very
gave you a
cool.
story too for the
He
40.
gave me a story. He was very cool.
20 bucks for the picture, 20 for a
Yeah.
story. Not Joe Pesci. Wait, was Grillo signing autographs or
Nah,
he
Grillo
just
was just hanging. I think he was just
okay.
hanging.
I was gonna say,
So
man.
when I went to go take a picture, Grillo left the room for a minute. I was like, "Oh fuck!" I wanted to say, "Grillo, Grillo, you douche, Dab Liga." So we take a picture, all cool, whatever. Nick's like, Nick, like I said, Nick was there. Later on, he drives Grillo and Stuttering John home. He had him on the podcast, on his podcast.
Oh, nice.
So I listened to that whole thing because John lives in Massapequa, so that was fun. And in that same room, Zuzu Pedals was there.
Nice.
Yeah, so for a guy like me that absolutely fucking loves Ford Fairlane with like the smallest bit, it's a very important role, but Maddie Corman is her name. And I
Uh,
took a picture with her. Same thing. It was like $40. I could have sworn he
okay.
said 30 and I gave him 220s and he didn't give me change. So I was like,
Right.
I swear to God, these guys like say it real quick. And when you give them shit, like if you don't wait for change, maybe they're like, whatever. And
Sure.
she's like, if you're such a big fan, she's like, let me just give you this picture. No, no worries. We're packing up soon anyway. And we
Oh,
took a
that's
picture
cool.
together. She was so nice. Um, then so everything's in rooms, right? That's
Right.
what it was when you went.
Hmm.
And it's awkward to be like, oh, okay, Geraldo Rivera's in this room. Should I just like peek my head in and walk around and make pretend like I'm going to do something, but I'm not paying for Geraldo Rivera?
No, no.
So, we did the same thing. We looked around. Then we went
I always
to,
felt there was one room in there. I think it's the same hotel, but like it's like a sunken in room where there's a big, oh, it's surrounded by tables. And then the bar is right here and stuff, and people are just getting drinks and like hanging there looking. And there, it was almost like it's all these these rando celebrities of Joey Pants and Meredith Salinger and Hal Linden and Ernest Borgnine sitting next to each other, and everybody's just leaning, looking at them like they're animals in a zoo, basically.
yeah, so that's kind of what it was, and so to me, I think that's why we've never gone because that appeal, it just doesn't appeal to me. But
Mhm.
for the one or two time, we'll probably go back because we had a really good time. But that whole part of it is like, well, I don't care. Like, I just figured, hey, when's the next time? I mean, I didn't know he lived in Massapequa. I probably could have just gotten a picture from.
Pretty sure at his mom's house, I think.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So certain things I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't care, $40. But I could see how you spend money ridiculously there because like we were walking around and we're like, oh, we'll take this, we'll take that. Gina Gershon was there. Fucking the dude from Big Trouble in Little China. The was he electricity guy? Yes.
Okay.
I mean, just a ton of people. The 40th anniversary for Dawn, A Day of the Dead.
Right. That's
So,
dope.
the Jamaican dude, the white alcoholic guy, and then the girl, Linda,
Right.
right, or something.
Yeah,
Um,
well, what's his face is dead. Joe,
Rhodes, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then I don't know, but I went to one years ago and it had something like that. He was still alive, and the big dude that used to play football was completely annoying. That was at a Monster Mania con. But yeah, those things can be fun, man. There's people that religiously go and they come in there with backpacks full of like they get an autographs from. I was never like that. There's certain people who like. I just posted a picture of me with like the two girls from Weird Science because that was such a big deal. Like if there's a certain person that means something to me, I'll shell out the dough and get a little
That's
something, little
that's
souvenir, you know?
that's what it is. Like to me, it there were certain, I blew my wad real quick, and like for me, like when it comes to like I just don't spend on myself, and it has to make sense. And Karen's like, she's like, we spend this on dinner in one night. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
We
that's true, man.
we go out to eat dinner like almost 5 nights a week. So she's like, just shut the fuck up and buy whatever you want, spend it. So I blew my wad real quick, and I'm like calculating in my head because like not that I care about the money, but it's more of like well, like I just spent $40 to basically take a picture in a cell phone with somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just how I'm thinking. And then we get to
Amazing merchandise, dude. They got
what
vendors and shit, right?
we well, so yeah, we were walking in this room, and the this dude just starts talking to us. I didn't really know his name. It didn't really ring a bell. And this was the highlight of our day for me. Um, it was Michael Gornick was his name, and he was like a director, and he directed Creepshow 2, and he had
Mhm.
all this shit. So he's like telling us these stories and all this other stuff, not trying to sell us anything. And he was just like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna do one in Pittsburgh if you guys want." And we had a really cool like 15-minute conversation. Dan bought like so he told us like with Creepshow 2 they didn't have a they cut the budget, so there were supposed to be 5 stories. That's why
Hmm.
that Venus flytrap one, the wraparound, was supposed to be one of them, but
Ah,
since they didn't have a budget, they did the animation, they made it longer. And so that's when I bought that that Creepshow 2 thing. He signed it. He was just great, man. Michael Gornick was his name, and he it was just one of those pleasant conversations that didn't feel like I was being hocked anything.
yeah,
And I listen, I get it, like I saw I walk into this one room, I see Donal Logue, you know,
sure.
then next to him is Frank Whaley, and next
Okay.
next to him is fucking James Remar, and I'm like, yo, this is nuts. I'm like, you
Yeah,
guys are like 3 legends in this room, especially James Remar. And
sure.
Frank Whaley, I like walked by. I was like, man, swimming with sharks. And he looks at me. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, pictures right over here. And I'm just like, no one was talking to him. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, this is weird. So stuff like
Yeah, there's
that.
some
But
sad shit you see there. Like I remember being in the merch room and like Brutus Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine didn't even have tables in the autograph room. They were standing behind like some dude who sells like old WWE, WWF merchandise, just standing behind him. So if you happen to be buying, you could ask them for something as well, but they didn't even rate getting a table, which is like, oh, that's hurts
brutal.
my heart a little
Yeah.
bit.
Uh, and real quick. So the last thing that I'll mention is, well, one of the things I will say, like Dan went there with t-shirts because he was like the one person he wanted to meet was Lee Tergesen, who was there,
Oh
right?
yeah, sure.
So
Feature.
yeah, but he gave him like a Point Break shirt, which was Reservoir
Hmm.
Dogs, because
Okay.
he was Rosie in Point Break, and I was like, that's cool. And another random one that I loved was Leslie from Police Academy, the
Oh
first
shit.
one. Yeah, he was there by himself, and if I would have saw him, I'm like, that's a picture I would have taken, but by that time I was like, I'm pretty much like tapped out. I'm not,
Yeah,
but like
it's a full day.
I'm like, you're fucking Leslie, and then from there, it was a great hang. We'll definitely go back, but it's aside from just like the random show. Oh, and then on the way out, I saw Chuck Zito again. I'm like, yo, Chuck, have a great day. He's like loading up his truck, man. It was a very surreal thing, and it was a lot of fun, and I totally recommend it. And I think really just going with Dan, who had friends there, and he kind of like showed us around. We had a really good time with him.
Nice. Sounds good. I gotta go to one next time. And then
And so I want to flip it to what you were going to mention, because one of the people that I met there that knew Dan was Vinegar Syndrome, and
mm,
their shit was like immaculate, everything that they had.
I've been getting into upgrading, going back. I had gotten rid of a lot of physical media and stuff, and like my CDs, I ripped them and rid of them, and some DVDs and stuff. And recently, I've been getting back into upgrading into Blu. I have Blu-rays, but the 4K, the 4K player, just for the banger films that I'm sick that I rewatch multiple times. That anytime I look, it's not on any of the services I already have, or I got to rent it.
Like what?
And
Like what were you looking for?
like a lot of like random old horror. I don't have a particular because I've been into it for a while, and I've really been enjoying the hunt and the process. And I really respect what these because I think that eventually, Netflix and all these things, they're gonna pump their shitty original programming down you. And these some of these classic films, um, with the exceptions of a Shutter who or Tubi that delves in that, and Tubi you get commercials, you're gonna see less and less of that shit getting carried there. Or maybe you can rent it on Amazon for $8 or buy it for $20, but you don't even own it. They still own it. When you buy something from Amazon on a digital thing, you don't even. So I've been enjoying the process, but so these boutique stores that cultivate these films and stuff, and Vinegar Syndrome especially, because they dig deep. They get some like really deep cut films. Some of it, and they put production their artwork, the cases, the artwork on the front slip is their works of fucking art. I mean,
Ha!
they are beautiful to
You're
the point
telling
though.
me. I
And
saw it.
if you look up the film, I'm like looking through it shopping because they just had a halfway to Black Friday sale, like a flash sale. They'll do that. You can get some deals. And I did a pre-order. Their new releases, Dirty Work is one of them. They got the rights to that. And it's going to be the uncut version that Bob Saget always wanted to put, that they cut like X amount of dirty shit out of it. And I love Dirty Work. I love Norm Macdonald anyway. So that's why I went on it. But you'll look through some of these titles. I'm like, what is that horror movie? Holy shit. And I'll look it up. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that. I like rated it a 3 on IMDb and or 4, and the most of them or whatever. Like, but they're so good looking that like I still want to fucking buy them. But I'm like, you're not gonna even watch that. But man, the work they do is to be applauded, and they're preserving a lot of films that might not be carried by anybody like often ever again. Who knows? So I just wanted to
Yeah.
shout them out. Love.
Well, I met one of the guys there. I forgot his name, of course, but he was friends with Dan, and their office is in like Bridgeport, Connecticut, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. They have a
So
store, right? Too, like you could go into, I thought.
maybe I didn't ask, but man, the artwork is the first thing that you notice with,
Yeah.
when you dig this shit up, they had Mother's Day laid out. They had Last Tango in
That
Paris.
was part of my last order. I just got the Mother's Day.
Yeah,
In my order. Yep.
Charles Kaufman. They had the Warhol Frankenstein.
Hmm.
Just every like just shit that you've heard of, but like, like the nesting.
Yeah.
Wow, when was the last time you fucking watched or thought of that? Dan bought Severance,
Nice.
the movie, which is actually currently up on HBO. But he said the same thing. It's just the artwork, the stuff that they do, like the care and love. Um, and Dan was pretty pretty blown away because I might have mentioned gutter balls to him or hanger or
Yeah.
something, and he didn't know what I was talking about, and he's like, "Holy shit!" He's like, "You stumped him." He's like, "No one ever stumps him," and I'm like, "Yeah, but those two movies are disgusting. No one should know those two movies." You
There's
know that?
actually on that when you become a member or whatnot, you can you create an account or whatnot, become a member. But they take submission requests. Like if you stumble across like a movie, like God damn, this was a good movie, and it's not streaming anywhere anymore. It's kind of forgotten about, but it has like a cult following or whatever. You could send it into them and stuff.
Okay, that's
It's a little
yeah.
form you fill out, and then one of the questions is, do you know the director personally or this and that? Stuff that's fallen out of rights for whatever reason that still
I
deserves to
wonder.
be looked at.
So that's probably what happened with Miracle Mile, which seems to be a little bit more prominent now that people have caught up to it.
Hmm.
There's like re-releases of that. Another movie that was like that is that movie The Last Supper that I love. Like it just like you couldn't really find it or get it anywhere. I don't think Mask is streaming anywhere.
That's what I mean. You're gonna see like more and more of that shit. It's like Netflix. I keep saying Netflix, but they have uh limited edition true crime series they have to put out that are usually 3 episodes too long. That should be like an hour and a half and like pump this shit out. And a lot of films, they're not going to carry all this shit. And
Yeah, so
sometimes, and if it's one of my favorite ones, I don't want to watch it on Tubi. Like I love Tubi. Don't get me wrong, love Tubi. But the picture quality isn't outstanding. It's got commercials. It serves a purpose. So if it's a film I really care about, fucking $20. I got
yeah,
this beautiful piece of art and I can watch it whenever I want.
but
You
you
know?
take this, right? Mask, right? 1985, Peter Bogdanovich. Nowhere. You can't even rent it. And it's like, how's that possible? Now
And that was
I've
an Oscar nominated film.
yeah, like how like what's the story behind that? Now, luckily, there's something called the Internet Archives. That's like
Mm,
that's my last location that I look at, and I found Masks there, so I got to watch that. Just recently I found Eddie and the Cruisers there
mm.
as well. But yeah, certain movies where you're just like, well, how could you not even rent this?
No, I know. It's listen, the history of films getting more. There's so many films made over history. Some are going to fall through the cracks. So when they have people like Vinegar Syndrome or Shout Factory or Synapse or there's so many Arrow
Blue
that are
Underground.
yeah, Blue Underground taking preserving this shit. It's doing a real service, and it's important because I've been watching a lot of old shit this year. Because you know why? It's been a shit year for movies, man.
It's been a shit year, and to be honest with you, I have also. I was gonna put on that Freaky Tales thing, the new Pedro Pascal movie, which was in theaters for like about 10
Short
minutes.
produced that or something.
Did he?
I
Oh,
think so. Yeah.
okay. That's interesting. So I'd like to watch that because he seems to be, Pedro Pascal seems to be having like the best 5 years of his life at the
You
moment.
don't see
Where,
him much. He doesn't work a lot. Him and Jenna
yeah,
Ortega, they should be in more shit.
that's right. But like he's one of those people that's so beloved that I can't wait till he does or says something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So like,
Borrowed time.
oh yeah, because he one day he's gonna say something, and that fucking hive that he's created will be like, not you, Pedro, not
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. It's been a lean year, man. And that'll get us into something else I wanted to tell. I saw Sinners.
Okay,
Um,
yeah,
Now, I was not going to see it. I thought the trailer looked awful. I thought it
same,
not awful, but mediocre. Like,
same. I
all right,
just
what
no, not in my wheelhouse and no interest. Like
exactly?
yeah.
It looked like a too glossy horror from movie for me, and I don't want gloss
And
in my
I'll
horror.
tell
But
you this before you
yeah,
get into it. I just
sure.
had this conversation with my friend Johnny, who saw the premiere somewhere, and not anything that he would normally watch, but he's like, honestly, it wasn't that bad. But I told him, I'm like, I saw the trailer every time I went to go see a new movie in the theater, and every single time I kept thinking, like, I'm never watching this. I love the kid from The Wire, all grown up. Man, that dude rules. I think he's in Creed, maybe, or I don't know if it's the same guy.
Yeah, and he
Michael
was
B.
good.
Jordan. Yeah, killer. That dude's killing
Oh
it.
no, I'm thinking somebody else. Did not like Michael B. Jordan that much. Never mind.
Okay. So in the trailer, I just remember him with a machine gun and some like modern music playing in the background, slow motion. Once I saw
Yeah.
that, I was like, yeah, I'm never watching this ever. So
And I wasn't gonna. And then I posted something in Facebook about what's some good shit. Because I was looking for something. I'm like, God, I must have missed some like good films along the way because I'm still just sitting here on Companion and The Monkey. Like, is there anything else that I mean? Not that I see some other like the film, the Deep Water film we were talking about. I can't forget the name of it already. It's a fine film or whatever, but I didn't think it was going to make
w
my
w
top 10. But
wouldn't have made the top 20 last year.
exactly, and then people were writing in the thread about Sinners and Blown Away, and then I'm looking on Reddit somebody talking about people like a standing ovation at the end of the movie. I'm like, what am I? You know what? I'm on that AMC plan. I pay $25 a month and I can see 4 movies a week if I want to. So no sweat. You know what? I got a few hours to kill, literally a few hours because it's about 2.5 runtime, which is way, it was way excessive. Went to go see it and it's not that, I don't think it's that great. I get I understand representation and I get why that's important to people. It makes sense to me and I get what they're doing. I get what the story was about. But it was just because the story has some kind of meaning or purpose, it still has to be told in a way that kind of interests me in a bit. Like for instance, like Barbie, right? That was on everybody's list and stuff. A good message to Barbie, but I thought underneath it all, it was just like glossy, whatever.
Especially in a year where Poor Things came out and had the same message and was better.
Exactly. It's the way you tell it and present it. And this
Yeah.
film, The Sinners, looks good. It started out kind of interesting. Um, but then it abruptly shifts to where it takes a long time to get to the horror element of it. And I thought that there's longer musical numbers than I thought. One that was pretty kind of cool if it was in a music video. I don't want to where it's like the history of black culture dancing, like they're in the 30s or whatever it is, but then you see break dancers mixed in, and it says one shot, brilliant shot, but it's a longer song. I was like, all right, and then eventually our vampires come in, the white vampires, and which already knew, you knew that's what it was going to be, the culture vulture kind of thing. I get it, whatever. Okay, fine, but do it to me in a really clever way. Like show me something surprising. But and then to make them Irish fun. I mean, Irish people got shit on in America all the time. Why are they the fucking? I mean, what the fuck is that? So, but anyway, I thought, and it jerked into that part. I thought it handled the climax felt rushed to me. Um, it's it ended up not being much of a horror movie to me or anything else for that matter. I don't think it's not, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is a 1 out of 10. I'm not telling you that. But I'm telling you it's a 5 or a 4. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might carry more weight to certain people of color. I get that shit too. But for
But
me,
not even
I
like
don't,
Andolfo didn't really seem to care for it either.
yeah, it was more just when something's so hyped up, maybe too, there's an inherent nature in me to be like, really like, all right, like what is all this about and shit. But I mean, people are talking about it like it's the fucking Godfather or some shit, and I just don't
Yeah,
understand what's going on. And I think it's because there's such a lack of good shit so far. I think people want it to be
maybe.
that
Yeah.
good.
And Ryan Coogler, he's like a super competent filmmaker, so I'm sure it looked cool.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it was done very well, you know.
When the vampires started doing an Irish jig, like literally, I'm not kidding. Um, it's like a choreographed dance thing. I was completely gone at
You're
that
like
point.
you're like, man, where I need more popcorn if I'm gonna sit
Like, what
through
is this
this.
Glee? What the fuck are we doing here? Like, what is this shit?
Yeah,
I
it just
fuck that.
doesn't sound like I'm the audience for it. But then again, I'm surprised people like Longito is the Chris Longito, friend of the show,
Yes.
is that was the most shocking to me because he went out of his way to text me and was like, Sinners, man, wow. And I'm like, man, really? Okay. That's when I was like kind of, and Karen's like, oh, maybe I want to watch that. So, but I'll wait. I'll watch it here, even if we drop 20
You should
bucks for.
see it just to have, because it's a culture point of conversation. You know what I mean? But no rush to think. And you know what? I'm glad for the theaters doing well. Don't get me wrong. Like
Me too.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
People
yeah,
go to that shit or Minecraft or whatever, put butts in the seats. But I personally blame Chris for me going to see this movie because I
yeah.
trust his opinion so much,
Yeah.
and it's his fault. I want my 3 hours back.
Yeah, I'll be waiting on that one, you know. But who
Yeah,
knows?
no rush.
Who knows?
No rush for
I
that.
will I will eat my words if I like it, but I just knew from that trailer and I was like, I don't think I could sit
Well,
through this.
because it did so well, the studios will scramble to copy some kind of. You're going to see a gluttony of films set in the 30s and what like that. Because and now let's look. We're segueing very professionally in this episode. I gotta say because I want to segue right to the last episode of the studio, which I binged and caught up from. You were raving about it. I hadn't seen it. I watched all. I'm caught up on the seven, and man, that last seventh episode, how fucking brilliant was that?
Absolutely fucking I mean, first of all, that show from Scorsese in the first episode where they're selling, it's like we're gonna give you money to make a movie. We just need you to put Kool-Aid in it. So, okay. Second
Jim
episode.
Jones movie.
Yeah. Fucking second episode, third episode, like every episode, just tops itself. And you're watching this, it's Sarah Polly. It took me a minute to realize Sarah Polly was in the second episode.
Sure.
When you
She
think
was
of
great.
when I think of Sarah Polly, I think of her in Go, and I think of her in Dawn of the Dead.
One of the dead, yeah.
She was like, super young and like, super attractive to me for sure. And now she's definitely like middle aged and still looks great. But, it took me a minute. I'm like, oh, and now she's a film director. So
She's
it
an
made sense.
Oscar-winning film director,
Absolutely. I
even.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's crushing it. And I mean, that episode is great. Then you get to Ron Howard and these like little things where it's like, who's going to tell him he's got to cut the last 25 minutes of his movie? You know,
Ron Howard cursing is just great. There's
who?
something about Ron Howard and he's cursing. Like
Yeah.
there's something so alarming to
Yeah.
me about it and hilarious and
Don't
shit.
ever fuck with me again. And then Anthony Mackie was like, yo, I fucking, they're all lying to him basically. Be like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh man, I really wanted to pay tribute to my cousin. And I don't really care. And they're all like, oh my God. Yo, I fucking love it, right? So then we get to this episode, and once again, you're watching it, and they're talking about the Kool-Aid man, and you're like Ice Cube and whoever the fuck else is on there. And then you're like, all right, where's this going? And then once it starts going to where it goes,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I see what's happening here, and this is about to be really funny. And they just keep one-upping it and one-upping
Yeah.
it to the point where I'm like, this is 25 minutes. That's how long the episode was.
Sure.
And it was just fucking brilliant.
Well, their
But
episodes move the way it's shot and the constant, going around and the actors hitting these quick lines. Like it's a moving show, but man, landing joke after joke, brilliant satire of how Hollywood is and shit. You know what I mean? And you wonder. Obviously, I'm not in that scene, but man, you wonder what kind of weird, dumb decisions, how they come across making
yeah,
them and shit. But
well, yeah, I can't say enough about that last episode and how where it started and where it ended. I'm like, wow,
yeah,
well done.
that was an A plus. That's the kind of when these shows go up and they for awards and stuff like that, and they pick particular episodes for writers and stuff like that. I wouldn't be shocked if you see this one if they have any balls. I don't know if these awards shows do because it's satiring themselves and how stupid their industry can be. But man,
I
if you want to
I
see A plus satire, that's it. Didn't get any better than that.
the right everything about it, the cast. I really can't say enough about the show, and it's rewatchable. Like I'm pretty sure I could sit through the whole season again and still
Yeah.
fucking find it very funny. I
Yep.
just big home run. I got into Mobland on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
So I saw Mobland, and to me, like, I'm like, if it's not Mobland for America, I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, it's like it's you're not like if it's not some sort of like historic tale of like the 50s or 60s or 80s Gotti, whatever. So I'm like, whatever. Then I hit play and I'm like, I'll watch it. Then I noticed that Fontaine's DC are on the soundtrack. Then the story starts unraveling. You see Pierce Brosnan. And to me, like, to be honest with you, I saw parallels between this and Gangs of New York, Gangs of London.
Hmm.
And that first episode was just really good. Soundtrack was great. And from there, I knocked out. I'm up to like episode 4. Big fucking fan. Tom Hardy's fantastic. Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, really good cast, and just really good UK mob stuff. Ireland mixed in there too.
Sure. Nice. I didn't love Gangs of London, I gotta say, but
No, yeah.
nah, but I do have that in my queue because I'm trying to watch a lot of great TV series this year and not as much good films. I have lots of series I like this year, but it's hard to catch up.
All
But
right. Well, yeah.
but
Speaking of
yeah,
TV, yeah,
speaking of series, look at
that
us. Look at us.
that's it. Coming at you. We could wrap it up with the Black Mirror stuff. Black
Yeah.
Mirror. We got season 7, and
Mm.
I didn't finish the season, but it doesn't
No.
matter. It's an
How
anthology.
far
Now,
did you get?
four episodes.
Okay.
So I still have Eulogy and the Callister U.S. whatever.
Lost. I won't say anything about those, but I think they're two of the better ones of the series.
Oh, yeah. But
The
but what an interesting thing, right? So like this Charlie Brooker guy, which I don't know much about, but I think you did a little research on him. Um, I mean, this guy must be a genius because he has written some of the most unique, like close to Twilight Zone type things, long form. Like these are some of these episodes are like really long, very involved, very smart, very detailed type things through all these seasons.
it's very smart. It's to the point, he was always showing like what could happen or what this happened, the stuff that is happening, and some of the stuff they're talking about now is already happened in like some of this technology things, you know what I mean, that we're already there. It's almost like we've caught up as a society to Black Mirror. But he's an amazing writer. Yeah, he's a British guy. I didn't do too much research on him and stuff like that, but I have tried to go into. I'm like, God, who is this guy? What other stuff has he done? So I want to say it was 2010, maybe, or maybe in the early aughts, that he did a series, I think it's 5 episodes. I tried to send it to you, but I was having problems, but because I got a torn of it. But uh, Dead Set, which was basically a Big Brother type household, and a zombie outbreak occurs while they're in the quarantine of the Big Brother house.
Which is
Kept
cool.
aware,
Yeah.
very great, funny, brilliant, sharp half-hour episodes, fantastic. Another one I think he did for crime shows, um, called A Touch of Cloth. I haven't been able to get my hands on that and stuff, but I mean, like with 7 seasons of Black Mirror is a lot of content alone. I have not seen Bandersnatch the film.
I
Is that good?
I did not I didn't either.
Mm.
And that was like right, it was just like choose your own adventure type thing. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, it's one of those things I just never press play on, and then like something
So,
else always comes out. And
well, in the new season, there's a prequel to it, which I didn't know. So that guy who is what's the name of it? The guy who like stole something to get arrested, like the lunatic guy. Plaything. The guy who was talking. It was like kind of like a had that video game
the
thing.
games, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that one. Do you love it? It's
All right.
okay.
So I saw the first 4, right?
Yeah, let's.
Let's touch those real quick. Um, the first one, Common People, I thought was really great.
Love it.
Almost nightmarish, right? Like you're shout out to, of course, the
Oh,
fine
come on now. Unbelievable.
um
Gorgeous.
and so basically, I mean, what would you say? Like like, not to do too spoilery, but like,
I'm talking about Chris O'Dowd, of course, too. How gorgeous she is.
yeah.
Rashida Jones. But yeah, so is you know, uh, are we gonna do the plot or are we gonna assume
Yeah, let's
people?
do right.
Yeah.
So like Rashida Jones and then this dude, they're married. There's an accident, and basically, there's a procedure done by Diana Ross's kid, right? Yeah, I forget her name. Um, and yeah, yeah, so it's just basically like you have Wi-Fi in your brain, and you can't. Like, it's just like some real nightmarish
A
stuff.
limit on how far you can go.
Yeah,
And
to
then they
basically
gotta
keep you alive.
upsell you on a plan if you want this. And then
Yeah.
that plan becomes standard and it's not enough. So they want you to get the extra gold package and relay that to any fucking subscription service you have currently or have had. But this is at a higher stakes, obviously, with a life involved. It's
With a life involved, and like you kind of back yourself into that corner, and it's once again, it's like, man, from where it goes to where it ends, there's love, and then from there it just what it turns into. I thought it was fantastic. What did you think of the episode?
it was one of my favorite ones of the
Okay.
series run. And one of the great things you get about this show too is because the writing is such a high level now, and you get in these later seasons, a lot of really great actors and actresses want to be involved in the show and get
Yeah,
in an episode. So having it anchored by these two. Chris O'Dowd's very great too. You might know him from the IT crowd, the IT crowd. He was on that series in England. Very funny guy. Rashida Jones is always fantastic. So having it anchored by like some people that can really act is fun.
he's
It's a
he's
fun
killer.
extra. Yeah,
He's one of those dudes that even if you don't know his name, when you look up his face, you're like, I've seen that guy
you
in
know,
mad shit.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
High level writing, like you said, right?
yeah.
I'll tell you what, I think the second one is my favorite, right? So
Oh yeah,
was it Beating Noir? I don't even know how to pronounce that.
that's some
Uh
fresh shit.
and what I like about it is movies or things like this that make people, I think the most nightmarish thing is just like feeling like you're losing your mind, right?
Sure.
When you think of movies like Wounds or The Dead Center or these things where it's like, am I crazy, or is this fucking really going on or not
Right.
going on? And this episode really does that, where this girl is successful, working in this like I guess it's like a dessert thing or something, right? They make desserts and stuff like that, and she's killing it.
Like those gourmet flavored
Yeah.
whatever oddball.
And
It ain't Hershey bars, you know what I'm saying?
this girl from her past pops up and tries to intern there, and they have this history. And I mean, as everything unravels, you peel away that onion, and I loved it. I just fucking thought it was fucking fantastic, very mean spirited and great. So what did you think?
Yeah. I agree. That was a good one. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but again, well acted, well written.
Yes, we
Uh,
were off to a good start. The third one, Hotel Reverie, was
that
interesting.
I thought it was one of the worst shows of the series. I thought it was so stupid.
I, you know, like most things, but listen, yeah.
It was kind of like the beloved, what was it, San Junipero, whatever that is, like a little bit of that kind of a romance thing
I
involved
get
in the story, a little. But my main problem, I think, Aquafina is very distractingly awful for me. I don't know. I think she's a terrible actress. I don't like her, and I thought the whole premise was odd. Like, why would like you take this? I don't know. Even with this technology, I don't know. There was just something so odd about it, and the fact that this the girl, I don't remember these actresses' names. The girl that played the actress that they wanted to be in this film and put into this
She,
role.
I like her. I think she's great.
She was
Yeah.
supposed to be, yeah, I don't know. I thought like they make her like, oh, this is this great actress that we have to. I didn't see her as like any kind of emoting anything that I would be think she would be considered a great actress, I should say.
I
I
bought
don't
in.
know.
I was sold
Yeah.
on it. I
Okay.
but like it was my least favorite of the four that I saw.
Okay.
But the concept was still cool. Listen, I'm a sucker anytime you mess around with things like, like Final Girls where or these things where you get thrown into like a movie
I
or
think I'm being
something.
harsh too when I say like awful. No, like because even a Black Mirror episode that I don't like as much as other ones still always has something of value. Those were just 2 points of it that made it less than the other ones. I think I'm coming off too harsh because, like I said, even if they do an episode that isn't one of my favorites or I'm really into, there's still an interesting concept
Very,
involved in it.
very, very interesting for sure. And when you come in with those first two and then you go to that, it was definitely a drop where I'm like, okay, whatever. But the fourth one I thought was great. It was very weird and unique, and that main guy was really good, and
Yes.
just the time frame, like I guess it was like mid '90s or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought
Yep.
it was really cool. It's just it went back to where I think some of the episodes from season six they went away from like the sci-fi attachment to it. They're like, all right, we'll just do like a
Mhm.
different type thing. This was very much involved in that, and not as good as the first two, better than the third. So
Yes. I'm the same way with that.
yeah,
And
so
I can't say anything further, but the next one is one of my favorite ones I've ever seen,
oh,
anchored
good.
by the incredible Paul Giamatti, who it's so good. Very, I don't want to really, I don't want to say anything about it.
Okay, so
It's hard to because there's always a twist in these things, but if, just sing my praises of the show because like certain, the anthology things, we're always been big fans of those. I still think like you go back to a show like Twilight Zone is done so well that it still fucking hits to this day and shit. And I think this
does.
is the best one of these kind of shows that's ever been done since, you know.
It's when your bar when you're your own bar, that's what it is. Like it's you put out these things that are just like to go back to we'll be done with season seven. I wanted to just jump around a couple of the seasons and then we'll wrap it
Yeah.
up. Me the last season had I think it was like all right, so 5 episodes, but the one that really really got me was Beyond the Sea, and that was the first that they did, which was like a movie. It was an 80-minute episode with Josh Hartnett and Aaron Paul. I even included
Mm.
it in one of my favorite movies of the year because it was a movie. It was an 80-minute movie. These two astronauts are in space, and then from there you peel back the onion. I don't know if you remember it.
I do remember that one. That was one of the better ones I've ever seen. Yeah.
Unbelievable because you're like, what is going on? And then they're mentally transported back. It's just, man, it's so fucking good. Um, that would be my highlight for season six, and I'll just name Striking Vipers from season five was interesting. Do you remember that with the video game?
I'm checking it right now because, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That was brilliant.
There was a lot of memes involved with that one right there.
That
So I'll say a couple of other ones. Hang the DJ from season four was my favorite.
was a great one.
I mean, and obviously the name is Smith fans for us. San Junipero is always going to be my favorite. It's just one of the greatest. I mean, you could tell me it's the greatest hour of TV ever made, and it would be hard to argue. And then I'll pick one more from season two, which is called Be Right Back. And I'm trying to describe this. It's called Stay in Touch. No, no, Be Right Back, right? Did you ever see that one?
I've seen them all. Just
Okay,
by the
so
title, I don't.
it's the one where this lady loses her, I think it's husband or boyfriend, and there's a service, she gets an email where they kind of create this email
Yes.
back and forth that
Yeah.
has her husband's personality. So they
Yeah.
start going back and forth, and then they keep upgrading, and they're like, "Hey, do you want like the this version of it?" So it's like this AI brain, and she sees him. It's the same person. It's wild. It's
Yeah.
when that's your first episode of the second season after a pretty good first season, like you're like, okay, this is okay. There was only 3 episodes.
Sure.
That was the first one where you're like, whoa, this is heavy. Like
That
whatever
was
this is.
season two,
Two,
right? Yeah.
right?
That was the opener. And then I even the last one, The White Christmas with John Hamm, I loved a lot.
Yep.
I thought that was great. One of my other favorite ones would be Nosedive.
Oh yeah.
Uh uh
Bryce Dallas Howard.
yeah, with the concept of the social media cred and how people can like down and see your value, quote unquote, and how like, important you are or whatever and downvote you and I don't know. It's just it's all an exaggerated portion of what we deal with in everyday life and stuff like that. But then you think like, how exaggerated is it? Like, where are we going? That's kind of the crux of this whole entire program that makes it so special.
It is a very special program. Um, 7 seasons of like, I feel like people do watch it, but I don't really think it's as popular as I think it is, you know?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Uh, I think it peaked in a certain pop. I think it's still got a very steady following, but when there's that moment with streaming where things are like everybody's seen it, streamed it, talking about like a Squid Game or something, that becomes
Mm,
this fucking phenomenon or whatever. And then
it
it's
did.
like Squid Game came back very odd because it was like, wow, that was what 5 years, 4 years ago, or 5 years ago and stuff, and it's still being talked about, but it was a little less than the
It was a
first
lot.
time.
It was a lot
And you're going to
less.
get that as these services give you good shit and then keep giving you good shit and keep giving you good shit. And it does kind of bury things, I think. Yeah.
It was a lot less because I watched 2 episodes of it and I was like, nah, and I never went
Yeah.
back to it. And I
Right.
loved Squid Games one. I'm like, that was great.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as a viewer, I think to myself, there was no need for this. But
Mm,
as a business, you're thinking, oh, I just made a ton of money, and like, why wouldn't you? So like I get it from
mm,
like the business standpoint. It's like, all right, we'll make a second season. But as a
right.
viewer, I'm thinking like, I don't want a second season. I'm like, these 10 episodes, like you killed it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's like certain bands, like, all right, you don't have to get back together. Like, you put out
yeah,
this thing here,
yeah.
like
It's all
Jane's
right.
Addiction.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
Cool. Yo, rock and
yeah,
roll. You've said it
yeah.
all.
Next time we'll talk about that Lollapalooza book because I loved it.
Sounds good. So
All right,
enjoy.
later, man.